Let's submerge ourselves into the beautiful, wonderful, watery world of Magic the Gathering, talking about this deck, Deep Clue C. In this video, we'll be going over the commander, the sub-commander, and the contents of the decks to answer, is this deck worth buying? Finding out the context in it so people can then help decide themselves to finally see if they want to buy it or not. This is more of a me going through it going, this is everything inside, here are my thoughts and opinions, this might help you decide what you want to do. Firstly, we're going to have a word from our sponsors. The sponsor of this video is me. I have started an Etsy page where I'm going to try and be selling clothes that I've designed, thought would be funny, thought would be cool, thought would be amazing on people's bodies. So I literally spent maybe a month or two looking at different resources and stuff to come up with the nicest clothes I could possibly find, with the coolest designs that I have done myself, with stuff like playmats, hoodies, t-shirts. I'm going to try and do phone cases. They're harder than I thought, but I do think that it is a really good thing to actually put into. So if you would like to help me out or help the channel out, please go onto my Etsy. It will be linked down below and you'll be able to find very nice clothing and also be supporting the channel. So links down below, and also if there's any other designs, I will be putting on any of my social media, so please follow me there as well. Now that's over, we can now dive deep into this deck, talking about the commander. Morska Undersea Sleuth. For a green, white and a blue, you get a legendary creature. Veldalken Fish Detective, that is a mythic. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put 2 1/1 counters of Morska Undersea Sleuth, and it is a 2/3. To be honest, looking at this commander, I'm actually kind of shocked of how good this is. 1/3 mana for a 2/3 is not really the best. However, this comes with a ocean of really cool abilities. One, not having a maximum hand size is really good, especially when it comes into your commander, especially with all the stuff you can do with that, and you don't really have to worry because this also gives you more draw, that you don't have to worry about over extending your hand as long as your commander's there. Usually with people that build this deck put like a thought vessel in or something like that to help them out a little bit. This, it's not then necessary. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to investigate, giving you pretty much a free draw, because it says on the second part that it's every turn. So on your turn, you get your first draw, and if you draw a card magically, boom, that's 2 done and done. Then on someone else's turn, you need other ways to draw. So investigating is really good because again, you get to draw. Plus, this gets 1/1 counters, 2 of them for each time. That's possibly 8 counters by the time your next turn starts. Counter with you, usually 3 players, and then it's the next turn of yours. This is a really cool ability. However, I know when it comes to Magic the Gathering, stuff like that, they're not going to build it the way I would. To be honest, I could see myself playing this as a commander, but I would be doing draw and Voltron stuff. I would love to have this as a commander and just make it unblockable, attack someone, beat them with commander damage, and still have a full hand full of cool things to be able to stop them from doing stuff back to me. Plus, give it lifelink. Spot on, great card. But with every one of these decks, you cannot have a commander without a sub-commander, and the sub-commander of this deck is Sophia Dog Detective. For 1 green, white and a blue, you get a legendary creature, Human Detective, that is a rare. When Sophia Dog Detective enters the battlefield, create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green Dog Detective creature token with Trample. Tap 1, sacrifice an artifact token, put a 1/1 counter on each dog you control. Whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token, then investigate, and it's a 3/4. Now I have a few questions when it comes to this one. I do think it's quite a cool card. I love when a card makes another token. I really do love it when it does this. However, does it count as commander? I'm pretty sure it doesn't work the way I want it to, but I would love this to be a thing that Tiny can beat you with commander damage, but I'm pretty sure it has to be the commander itself. So I don't think that is an amazing card, because he comes in with Trample. So being able to power him up by sacrificing a bunch of tokens, being able to attack, do a load of damage, and beat someone with commander damage would be a really cool way to play this commander. But unfortunately, that's not how it works, because again, the commander is not Tiny. To me, this is more of a enchantment commander where you're supposed to attack. However, the dog itself is a legendary. I think they should not have made it legendary because it would have been a cool thing to be able to myriad it. I find if you got Tiny to become a, we'll say 40-40 with trample, unblockable with lifelink, and you mirrored it, would be really, really cool. However, because it's also legendary, it doesn't really work. I think it could be a good way in the future for your commander to be kind of like an enchantment power-up for the creature that it makes, and then you're able to do it. That's my thoughts and opinions on this one. But now let's go on to the deck itself. Now we're going to start off with the creatures. In this deck, there's a total of 32 creatures, and you get really cool creatures like Merchant of Truth, Seren Seleth, Detective of the Moth, Tangle Trove Kelp, Incurious Research, Aerial Extortician, Benny Brook Zoologist, Alexander Skydreamer, Internal Investigator, Kappa Cannoneer, Nahir Karen, Shimmer Dragon, Thought Monitor, Hornet Queen, Jolreal Movul Recluse, Timeless Tracker, Adrexin Nev Twincaster, Tulane Teller of Tales, 6 Fatal Bloom, Hydroid Crisis, Coma Cosmic Serpent, Lonis Cryptozoologist, Sylvana Explorer Returned, Academy Manufacturer, and Psychosis Crawler. Now there are a lot of good creatures in this deck and a lot I'm shocked of seeing. I can see where they come from by putting it in, but to be honest, it's not a card that I instantly thought to put in. I would have personally built both of these commanders a bit different, and I would have put different creatures in. So it's cool to see that they're doing it in a way, but personally this is where I'm already at the stop where I do like the commander. The sub-commander is good, that you can do cool stuff with it. But the way I play and the type of Magic I play personally, the deck itself, even with the creatures, I'm like, it would be too much hassle for me to buy and then kind of take it as spare parts and stuff. So already, this is just where I would have stopped. But I do still think if there is a large amount of creatures you're looking to get, it may be cheaper to get the deck than buy them all separately, if that makes sense, depending on the cards you want, of course. But now let's go on to the enchantments. In this deck, there is 10 enchantments in total, which is the most I've seen when it comes to one of these decks, I think. When it comes to enchantments, there's usually somewhere between 3 and 5, depending on the deck. So the fact that we're getting a whopping 10 is absolutely amazing. But I'm going to go through over some of them now. Armed with Proof, On the Trail, Knowledge of Power, Search the Premises, Mechanized Production, Teferi's Ageless Insight, Killers of Ice. Now the fact that there is a wink on in one of these decks is absolutely hilarious. I've never actually won with Mechanized Production, but I do still think it is a fun card, and I do have it in a deck, I've just never won with it. Now we're going to go on to the instances of this deck. In this deck there is 3 total instances, one being Swords. I know Swords is a really good card, like it's one of the best, if not the best, like target kill spells. However, I'm just sick of them being reprinted in decks. I know they're doing like a Soul Ring thing where it's so powerful that it's going to be in every single one, but I'm pretty sure if you've been playing Magic for over like 2 years and you buy all the deck, you're going to have a pile like this big of just swords that you're never going to touch, or you're going to have more than the decks you build, but that, again, completely separate topic. But let's go on to the other 2 instances, and they are Confirmed Suspicion, Disorder in the Court. These are quite expensive mana cards, and I'm like, I can see why they want to be put in with the Investigate stuff, but I'm like, 5 mana and like ridiculous amounts of mana just to do what you want to do plus Investigate. I think I understand why they're there, but when it comes to the deck, I think it would have been better just having a less mana value card that doesn't Investigate. It would still be good, but I can see why they're like, we don't know what to put in, them 2 say Investigate, they'll do. Let's get back on track and talk about the sorceries. In this deck there is 5 sorceries in total, and they are Follow the Bodies, Farewell, Fumigate, Organic Extinction, Final of Revolution. Farewell gives me such a kind of, I don't know what to call it, but it's not one of those things. People play it, it doesn't bother me when people play it. However, whenever I make a video or something and someone's commenting, they always say rather, I'm going to counterspell it, I'm going to farewell it. And I'm just like, everyone knows you can do that. It's just, a thing that I get a lot of comments about counterspelling stuff and Farewell, and I'm just like, everything has an answer. I know. But let's continue on to the next bit. Now we're going on to the artifacts of the deck. In this deck there's 12 artifacts in total, with 8 of them being mana rocks, so here are the other 5. Random Note, Idol of Oblivion, Inspiring Sanctuary, Nettlecrust. Again, I can see where they come from this. When it comes to this deck, I think I've just was hard locked on this is how I would build it, these are the cards I would love to see. So when I see it played differently or something like that, I'm like, yeah, that's a good card for this deck, but no, I would not want it in the deck. I'd rather these many cards, but I can see why they're in here, and I do think this is a really good deck overall. Again, I think it's just solely I don't play this type of deck, so again, if you do and you think this deck's way better than I'm giving it, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know other people's point of views. Now, I love when Wizards do this. In this deck, they added a Planeswalker. Now, the one thing I would love them to slightly change, because I collect Planeswalkers, is if you are going to put a Planeswalker in, put in the alt art. Because there has been a few times where I've wanted a deck, but I've talked myself from getting it. And then I've gone, if that Planeswalker that I wanted for my collection, that's the alt art is only like 1 or 2 quid cheaper or more expensive, I would have bought the deck. Mainly because I'm probably like 45% want it, 55% don't. That would have given it like 10% being like, do you know what? I'm going to spend X amount on the alt art of this Planeswalker. Instead, I'm going to buy the deck so I can have that, but also the cards I want. That's just me. But in this deck, you get Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. Then finally, when it comes to the lands, there's 37 in total, but you get great lands such as Capney Vista and Prairie Stream. Now, when I'm looking at these lands, I'm very disappointed in them. I don't think they're great lands at all. I actually think the weakest part of this deck is the lands. They have been doing better, so it could be just one of those things. I've been seeing the lands a lot more due to making these videos, but a lot of it I was just like, no. So overall, my thoughts and opinions on this. I think it is a really good deck if you look into it and that's what you're excited for. If you want to play this deck the way it is, with maybe putting a few upgrades in, I recommend buying it. I do think it is a good deck, and their standards of the deck are going better and better each year. But personally, for me, not my type of thing. There wasn't many cards I wanted, but I do have a lot of them. So I could pretty much build a majority of this deck myself without buying the deck, other than buying the newer cards. I do think overall it is a cool way and a new way to play the deck. So I do recommend, if you are somewhat interested in, I recommend buying it. But if you are not, do not bother. But if you have any questions or any other suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. Do all that YouTubey stuff, like, comment and follow me and watch more of my content. But as always, I have the previous deck here, a playlist with all the Is It Worth It Magic the Gathering stuff here, and a subscribe button here, and I will see you all in the next video.